It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Hi everyone and welcome. Yes, it is the season of Christmas. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Or for some of us, 'tis the season to record this programme and then go straight out and start with Christmas shopping. But I'm sure these two men, judging by their demeanour, have done all theirs and they're waiting. You can see the 3 wise men. I want to know which of these two's brought the gold because I haven't. Let's see how we go with a very special edition of the Champ.ie podcast. We have got so much to look forward to. We've even got you 2 special guests, 2 of the great characters and 2 very special people. Nicky Henderson, about to embark on another Christmas and another one which I'm sure will produce winners galore. And delighted as well, the Boyle Sports ambassador, Robbie Power, who of course has done a terrific job, albeit in circumstances he wouldn't have wanted, to support Henry de Bromhead during the course of the last few months, and that I'm sure will continue. So we'll hear from both of them, and Nicky will talk Kempton, and Robbie Power, I'm sure, will talk about de Bromhead's horses, as well as we look forward to what is the final Champ.ie podcast of the year, and these 2 have stayed the course. First, all the way from the delights of dark, judging by what's out of his window, County Meath, will you please give a round of applause or something similar for Mr. Thomas Coyle, and the founder of Champ.ie, so you know where to send your complaints, is Barry Doyle. Good evening, happy Christmas. I thought I'd better get that in early because it said about you, didn't I? I had a letter this week when somebody said about you, said it reminds me of the old poem, and still they gazed and still the wonder grew that one small frame could carry all the brew. Anyway, nice of you to spare the time to join us. A lot to look forward to.
Absolutely. Mike?
Let's have a look at the 5 races that make up the main part of the programme today. These are the 5 races for our 5 cast, and they're spread over the holiday. And it is the King George, of course, at Kempton on Stephen's Day, Boxing Day, call it what you will. I've never quite understood why we in Britain call it Boxing and the Irish call it Stephen's Day. There seems to be no, I can't even agree that, and that's one that you can't blame on Brexit. The Welsh National at Chepstow, how many verses of Bread of Heaven do you know? Could be one of the driest Chepstow Welsh Nationals in some years. Then we've got the Savills Chase at Leopardstown, and of course a very emotional race, the Jack de Bromhead race at Leopardstown. And we will finish with the other big handicap of the festival at Leopardstown. Although it's a bit early to try and sort that out. We don't have entries yet, and it's going to be an element of what he's going to get in. Barry, lots to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And we'll be giving our best bets at the end as well. And a little sign-up offer for Champ.ie
listeners. They are not to be missed or even positively avoided because these 2 guys know their onions, unlike me, who always settles for lettuce. Right, let's start away, shall we? And we have to start with the King George. It's been a terrific race for years and years. And look at the list of those that have won it. Paul Nicholls has won it 12 times, 5 times with Corto Star. 9 runners in all. Envoy Elaine, a fascinating runner from Ireland. Willie Mullins not sending anything across the water this year. He's having Christmas in Closutton by the sound of it. Tom, have first innings on this. With the possible exception, dare I say, of Royal Pagala, who'd have to step up a ton to improve it, and the Alex Hales horse. We can make a case out for quite a few of these.
Yeah, no, it's a bit disappointing that Willie hasn't sent that over. But look, it's a good renewal. The 2 at the top of the market probably deserve to be there on their form. Lahom Press was very impressed with Newcastle. That was a great weight bearing performance up there the last day, and he won a bit snug at the end. Braveman's Game was good in Wetherby, you have to say, where Ahoy Senor really disappointed. He was a little bit back to himself the last day. There was a bit more positives out of his last run the last day, Ahoy Senor. He was still well put in his place by Noble Yates, the Grand National winner. But I think for the two at the top of the market, they're short enough for that. When you think a lot of their form ties in with High Senior, do you give them one more chance? I'd say you could maybe in this race. The last time in Aintree, he jumped a bit right-handed. So this is going to suit him going right-handed in Kempton, I definitely think. He missed the first as well and was a little bit sticky, which he was the first day as well. But you definitely have to give Envoy Allen a shout as well. I think the step up the 3 mile is the new revelation, this horse. I think, Barry, you did put him up when he won in Down Royal. I think I said it as well. But
we caught him fresh, Tom. We caught him fresh.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's a fairly easy 3 miles, isn't it? It's a very different 3 miles on a flat track like Kempton, and Down Royal to some extent is the same. Whether you go 3 miles round Cheltenham or somewhere is another matter.
That's for sure. And Down Royal is a downhill finish kind of before you turn back towards the last. But he was good that day. And look, I know he was fresh. He's unbeaten around Down Royal. Everyone was probably going for him. But look, they could have him back. He's 7-1. He's an each way player in this as well. For me, Royal Pagoi probably needs it softer, as we all know as well. And I don't think he's kind of up to the match of this. Hitman, no. To me, he's Nichol's second string.
He has won it, and he has won it plenty of times with second strings in the past. Tom, can I actually come in, because you know something? You're making sense. A High Senior 20-1. That's a mental price.
Yeah, look,
it's an absolutely and I suppose we recorded the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, and Steph and Davey were discussing Hitman. And we expected him to drift out in price. I mean, he was as short as 9-2. He's drifting out. He's becoming interesting. For me, he was the one I flagged up as, I suppose we don't know what he's going to do up to 3 miles. Similar to Envoy Allen at Down Royal. This horse having his first run at 2 miles. He jumps at 3 miles, I should say. He jumps lovely. He's looking more at a finished article. If you look at Brave Man's Game, he's had 6 runs over fences. Hitman has taken a lot longer to even get to this level. Was a serious run staying on, I thought, at Aintree, given the weight he was on the season reappearance. Obviously, the last race at the graduation chase at Haydock is going to be a huge step up. He has to step up on ratings as well. But he's only £4 inferior to Brave Man's Game. I'm with you. I have to take on the two at the top of the market. I think Brave Man's Game has been overbet for this big time. Laham Press, he slightly shifts to his left. Now, it didn't catch him out last season, and I just wonder, that could have been a very hard race he had off top weight in Newcastle. You know, it's a 30-day turnaround, fair enough. But I thought he had to pull out all the stops now to win that up at Newcastle. It was a serious performance. Can he back that up? He's obviously 170 rated, the top rated horse in the race. A High Senior, just before we finish up on the King George, he's going to be my pick here. I think he's a mental price at 20-1. Genuinely.
Yeah, each way. You have to give him the chance again with all the form that tied in with the two at the top of the market last year. Like it's crazy.
Like he's 3 times a winner over fences, going right-handed, as you said. If he gets into a rhythm, he took a massive step forward the last time. He got locked in a duel with Dashel Drasher, who in fairness is a good yardstick. But you know, for him to finish, I thought he finished out his race much better. If you look back at the race at Cheltenham last season, he's beat 3.5 lengths by Laham Press. He's absolutely clattered the third last. How he finishes 3.5 lengths behind. So if he gets into a rhythm, I know it is a slight if, but he's majorly talented. I just think at the odds, we've seen big price winners of this before. He could be very dangerous. And if he steps forward, I mean, there's £3 officially between a High Senior and Brave Man's Game. £3 officially. There wasn't much between them. Obviously, High Senior beat Brave Man's Game at Aintree last season. Brave Man's Game didn't show up on that occasion. One is 7-4, 2-1. The other is 20-1. I'd be willing to forgive a High Senior at that sort of price.
Well, anyway, that's the Stephen's Day Boxing Day feature. Can I just say, Barry, thank you so very much for my birthday present or my Christmas present. How much I appreciated it. And say that we move on in a moment. The next we'll look at will be the Welsh.
Who are you, Mike? Who are you with, Mike? Before we move on,
well, I've been to see Nichols, and he's very strong on Brave Man's Game. But the thing about it is, it's a soft and easy 3 miles. I'm torn. I actually think Braveman's game did step up at Weatherby last time, and he'll do for me.
Okay.
Anyway, next we go to the Welsh National.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Barry, the man who brought the big dog to Champ.ie. Are you going to bring the big dog to Wales on Tuesday?
A couple of little stats. Have done a good bit of research for this one, Mike. The Welsh National.
Keep it brief because
yeah,
well, shipping to do.
15 of the last 20 winners carried less than 11 stone. Can you name 2 of the 5 who carried 11 stone or more? They're 2 Gold Cup winners, Mike. Synchronized was one, Native River was the other. I don't see anything in around the top of the weights here that strikes me as anything near a Gold Cup horse. The horse I've come down on in here is Ask Me Early. It's an 8-year-old Harry Fry trained. Sean Bowen jocked up. He's the most informed trainer in the race, coming into the race, 29% strike rate in the last fortnight. This horse has won 3 times at Chepstow, so he'll handle the course. Decent jumper. He's only £3 higher than over fences than he is over hurdles. Lightly raced. He's only had 10 starts. 6 of those were over fences. Has had a lovely prep behind Lemilos. Of course, who's since come out and won the big one at Newbury. And for me, at 7-1, he's the solid one in here, and I think there's still juice in that price. I could see him going off close to favourite, so I'm with Ask Me Early, and
Sean Bowen, of course, a very proud Welshman. He's probably the only one of the jockeys that will sing "Land of My Fathers" in his native tongue before the race starts. If you were a jockey in those golden, glorious years of your youth, Mr. Doyle, what would you want to ride in this?
I'd probably have a go on Pat's Fancy, to be honest. His second to Braveman's game last February has to be standout form in this, really. He's won twice in Chepstow. He won at this meeting. This time last year, he won the novice handicap. He also won the handicap before that. He's had a prep run over hurdles. A few quick.
Would you have liked to have seen more from him on that prep run? I thought he was.
Look, he's a chaser now. When you go back, it's funny when they go back over hurdles. It all happens a little bit quick for them. This is more his marathon kind of trip. I wouldn't mind him. I just think. I know Venetia's horse had won well the last time, but for a 9-year-old mare to be favourite in this is a bit like she struggled last year. Now I know she's won her last 2, but like the year before she only won a mare's handicap like around Leicester or somewhere. Now definitely.
I think this is a race, isn't it? Also, let me just stress to both of you this year that probably carries some kind of punting can damage your wealth warning, because I haven't seen language. I haven't seen going descriptions good to soft in places in the Welsh National for about the last 5 prime ministers. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a squelchathon this year, and that might mean that stamina is going to come into play.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just thought I couldn't have her as the favourite. The big dog has done nothing wrong. Obviously, won the Munster National, won the Tri-Town. Aidan Coleman's quickly booked. He'll stay. He loved the distance. They tried this. Was it 2 years ago, and he made an awful mistake and pulled up early. So this is obviously a plan before. Punitive, I thought I didn't think it was the strongest Porterstown in Fairyhouse that he won. I wouldn't be mad at him. The Big Breakaway had a lovely comeback run when he was beaten in Haydock by Venetia's horse Fontaine Calange. He definitely has a shout in this. That was a good run.
They would love to win it because it is named in memory of Joe Tizard's much loved and much missed sister Kim, and of course, sadly, the Tizards having to deal with more sadness with the death of Q Card, which was the yard would do great with a
big winner for them. Yeah,
and he definitely had a chance. I've been banging this name almost as long as Barry's been talking about Energy.
Yeah, he definitely has a chance on that last run. He was very unlucky to come out the wrong side of a head. Iscaria 10 had a nice run behind Durasso the last time. Probably, as Barry says, I think 12 stone will stop him. He's not up to that. One other that
12 stone will stop Barry.
But one other I'm definitely giving an each way chance is to Henry Daly's horse, Fortescue. He was ridden very patiently in the Beach of Chase the last day. He finished fourth. I think this extra half a mile will suit. He's usually ridden by Hugh Nugent, who I think is the grandson of the owner, Mike. Am I right there?
Certainly has a relation to, yeah.
Yeah. But this horse is threatening to win a big handicap like that. Yeah, again, he's a bit of weight, but he's always thereabouts in a good handicap. Jumps well, stays well. You're getting 5 or 6 place in this, he'll definitely be there or thereabouts.
Tom, I'm very surprised. Mike, just before, because I've only put one into the mix. Tom has gone with 2. And we'll have to get his 5 cast pick a little later. I'm very surprised, Tom, you didn't mention, and I don't know does she definitely go here. She's declared in 2 races, Regina Draconis. She's a massive price for Tom Gibney. Just hear me out for a second. Yeah. She's only £1 higher in Britain than she is in Ireland. I thought she ran a lovely run last time in that Porterstown. She made a bad mistake 3 out, which I think she would have dropped out the back of the television in normal circumstances. She stayed on very well off the back of the last to finish 5th on that occasion. As I said, she's only £1 higher, and I think she could be better than her mark of 128.
My only problem with her, Barry, is though she ran in the Tri-Town the week before she ran in the Porterstown. She got a crashing fall. She came back a week later and ran a cracker, but I think he might have dipped her a bit too much to try and get her back there. Having her so high 2 weekends in a row, it could take.
If you watch back the race, she hits the line very, very hard in 5th, and I thought it's like as if she blew up and ran on again.
But I still think when I said with punitive, I don't think it was the strongest renewal of the Porterstown. You know, there's only 10 or 11 runners, and
we must press on because we have a lot to get through in what is a very special bumper edition of the Champ.ie podcast.
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
And we'll turn to matters in Ireland for the remaining 3 races. But before we do, the first of our special guests on this Champ.ie Christmas special, and a man who has had another great year, is hoping for another great Christmas with the likes of ConstitutionHill, Champ, and he's also got Chantry House taking on Shan Blue in a fascinating race for the Roland Merrick at Wetherby. Delighted to welcome to the best podcast in town, the best trainer in town, Nicky Henderson, talking to Barry and wishing him a happy Christmas and to all the team at Seven Barrows.
So delighted to be joined by Nicky Henderson on the Champ.ie podcast, of course, ahead of the Christmas period. Nicky, happy Christmas, and delighted to be joined by you looking ahead, I suppose, to all the Christmas race and Champ. Probably a good place to start in the Long Walk Hurdle.
Well, it's great that it's been rerouted, which is, because it could have been run it could have been at Ascot 10 days ago. But anyway, we've got it back on again. It's going to be at Kempton, which is going to be a different ball game to Ascot or even Newbury. But, all it's been in good form. I don't think the track will worry him, and we've had a lot of rain today. So we must prepare, I would think, for soft ground. 10 now, don't forget. And so is Paisley Park. So they've been around a fair bit together. And there are some young bucks in the hunt as well. So and it's going to be interesting. As I say, there's nothing between Paisley and Champ anyway on the Newbury running. And I say we're on a different track, and it's a completely different ball game to, as I say, to Ascot and Newbury. But he's in good form, and we're very hopeful.
Super. Well, let's move on to ConstitutionHill, because that must have been probably the most exciting 3.5 minutes of the season so far up at Newcastle. You mentioned, Nick, did want to ask you one thing. You mentioned he's a much bigger horse this season. You think physically he's improved a lot?
I do, actually, because, there was room for it as well. When we started, he was very, was very unfurnished, shall we say, when he first arrived. But, we've been building all along, and I think, he has done very, very well. And, he is a big, strong horse, and he looked good, and, he's been very well. His work's been great. And we've just got to hope the same horse goes up that did last time. I don't, there's no reason why we shouldn't, but you've always got to keep your fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And we must mention, obviously you have two in the race. Epatante. Could this be the last time we see her at 2 miles this season? She did move up and trip last year.
We did, but I know JP's very keen to stay at 2 miles, so I suspect she probably will. You could move her up, yes, but we could have moved her up this time and gone to the Cleve. But we were keen to stay at 2. She likes Kempton. She was very impressive in this race last year, and like last year, he came on. He improved a lot for the run at Newcastle, and I think she has improved it, and she could finish a lot closer this time.
You also have a nice mare entered that came from the Irish point-to-point scene. I also wanted to ask you about is Between Waters. How good has she been since she's arrived?
Between Waters won't run. She runs at the end of next week.
And how's she?
Oh, she's going great. She's fine. She'll be working tomorrow, and I have a race for her at Warwick. I think it's on Friday or Saturday week. She
looked excited when winning her point-to-point. Has she been showing you much at home?
Yeah, she enjoys it. She's a lively girl, and she jumps well. Yeah, everybody's going well.
You seem to have a nice team of mares this season, Nicky. You must mention Lucia. You mentioned the Tolworth for her. She was mighty, wasn't she, at Newbury?
She's been very impressive. To be fair, she was in her bumpers last year when she won at Sandown, a listed bumper, and she was very, very impressive in horrible ground. And you sort of always feel the Tolworth's going to be very soft ground. And I think, we started her off in a listed race, so it's a bit difficult to the bar's set quite high. So I think we'll probably let her take a chance at the Tolworth and see where she belongs, because, they say she's handled very soft ground before and didn't mind it. So maybe we have a look at this and it'll tell us where to go after that.
Yeah, certainly. And she's obviously towards the head of the market for the mares at Cheltenham, the mares novice race, that is, Nicky. And
yes.
Is she one that you see, I suppose, in the spring as a real lively contender for that?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I think we had a problem with her last year before Cheltenham, and she couldn't run. She would have run in the mares bumper at Aintree, is what I was going for. But she had a problem, so she had to go home. But she's back in good order, as you can see from the other day. And so, yeah, we'll wander on towards the Tolworth, I would think.
Nicky, Mr. Fisher, he's in the Desert Orchid. Is that the plan, and how is he?
I don't know. He's very well. We had an idea the other day that after he ran in the Peterborough, which was a little bit disappointing, and the idea was to come back in trip a little bit. And so there are so few 2 mile paces for these sort of horses rated where he is. I put him in at Kempton, fully aware that Leopardstown is likely to turn up there. And if he does, well, and first of it, we're not going to beat him. But on the other hand, it depends how many others want to run. And if there's a small field and we're happy, I mean, he might well take his chance. Although, as I say, this rain that we've had overnight is not going to help the ground at Kempton, and therefore it will not help Mr. Fisher.
Nicky, apart from ConstitutionHill, for the Champ.ie listeners, best chance of a winner over the Christmas period, maybe one that we mightn't have mentioned.
We've got a few bits and pieces everywhere. I think Balco Coastal would have a nice chance in the 2.5 mile novice chase on Monday. And then we've a couple in the last race, the 2.5 mile handicap. The Theatre Guide, she's a good mare. She has got top weight. She would have a good chance.
Absolutely, Nicky. Absolute pleasure. Wish all yourself and, of course, all at Seven Barrows, of course, a very happy Christmas and New Year. And ConstitutionHill, cannot wait to see him, Nicky.
looking forward to it too, but with a bit more nervous tension than maybe everybody else.
Best of luck. Enjoy the turkey.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and a happy Christmas to you all.
Okay. Stick that in there and on we go. And here's to another great year for N. Henderson. Life is never dull at Seven Barrows, believe you me. So we move on to Ireland. Henderson not sending anything to Leopardstown. We're going to concentrate on a couple of races later in the meeting, and we must talk about Traveller's Chase. Always produces top class horses. Absolute Power set to go on a retrieving mission. What will Gordon run? He's got Conflated Galvin and also Fury Road. And interestingly, of course, this is the first podcast since Davy Russell retired. We wish Davy all the best. I'm sure we haven't heard the last of him, particularly on the Cheltenham preview circuit. But what will Jack Kennedy ride? And of course, Galvin's in the same ownership as Statler, who is the shortest priced of the Willie Mullins brigade. So there are stories all over the place here. And with Minella Indo in the Bromhead team here, Barry, they've got something to prove.
Yeah, he's on a recovery mission, isn't he? At Plutard. And obviously Minella Indo isn't exactly renowned for winning around Leopardstown at Christmas either. So, yeah, just looking, I suppose the first thing I would say is, I suppose, more unexposed types have thrown their hat into the mix here and have a decent record in the race. Second season chasers in the last decade. Only one of the last 8 winners were 8 years of age or more, which is an interesting stat, I thought, in the last decade. Jigginstown obviously loved the race. They've won 5 of the last 10. And I think Conflated certainly looks the solid one in here towards the head of the market at 11-4 currently. He looks teed up for it. He was reports where he was a bit big in Down Royal and then he'd come on a lot further run. Obviously a course and distance winner. He was remarkable last year what he done, wasn't it? Winning a handicap around Navan over 2.5 miles off 145 and going straight to the Irish Gold Cup and winning was at big odds, 18-1 as well. I'd say he's absolutely teed up for this, Conflated. He's 11-4 in the betting, but I just cannot get away from Statler. I love Statler. And I really fell in love with him at Cheltenham last season when he won the National Hunt Chase. He was never a horse that I was too keen on prior. I just loved what he done. Run Wild Fred set a fair standard now. He'd been running big handicaps. He's a 159 rated chaser every single day of the week last season. Turned up at Cheltenham. He was all the rage. Statler laughed at him, one with his mouth open, with his ears pricked at the line. I thought it was a massive performance. Obviously, it was a small field. It's going to be another step up. He's rated 158 on ratings. He has to step up massively, but he's 3 from 3 over fences. He's unbeaten over fences. He ticks the box in terms of an unexposed chaser, stepping up from novice company. He's only a 7-year-old, and he's only had 11 runs in his life. So I think there's a lot more to come from him. Mullins, it looks set for an absolutely massive Christmas again. 40% strike rate, incredible at the moment. And I'd make him one of my best bets, Statler, of the Christmas. And at 7-2, I think it's a fair enough price. He's probably going to drift. And if he does drift, get stuck in, Mike. Statler wins.
Well, Mr. Coyle, do you agree with Mr. Doyle, or does he get that? The mug.
Yeah, he's a bit of a mug, all right, isn't he?
The stupid boy mug. Got to be careful here with a Coyle and a Doyle. Mr. Coyle.
This race for me is so tricky. There's too many question marks about too many of them. Obviously, if Plutard comes back, yeah, he'll run riot. But that's a big if again, because that was in Haydock was unbelievable how quick he was out.
It's different if he'd have been beaten 4 lengths or something. We just said, okay, he'll come on for the run, but we're not even in that territory, are we?
Yeah, and it's he didn't even finish out the race, so it's not that like he's had a good prep run or nothing, so it's just too much at 5-4 is crazy. Conflated is probably the most solid horses, as Barry says. He won that handicap off 148. What horse did he beat, Barry? Golden Jewel, yeah. I was on
mute, but I had you saw my lips. I had that right.
Yeah. he beat Golden Jewel of Eddie Cawley's. Where would you be going? You're trying to have.
Who's no star, in fairness.
No. Statler for me is not a Gold Cup horse. He's a Grand National horse. He's too slow. I think it'll happen a bit too quick for him on his reappearance around Leopardstown. For me, Galvin again, another question mark after Down Royal the last day. Kenboy's solid. He ran all right in Down Royal, being second. Manel Endo, as you said, not a Christmas. He's not a Christmas horse. So for me, there's too many question marks. So like literally on a solid kind of betting front, Conflated kind of has to be the rock solid horse. But if A Plutard comes back to himself, he comes home on his own. But that's a big if.
I'm a Fury Road fan. I think he might have a bit of potential. We will see. Anyway, that is the Savills Chase.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Well, let's move on. In fact, we're going to move back 40 minutes actually ahead of the Savills Chase, because there's one thing I'm sure all three of us will agree, that on Thursday at Leopardstown, if Bob Ollinger were to win the Jack de Bromhead Christmas Hurdle, there will not be a dry eye in the house. Agree, Tom?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I think anyone that's involved in racing or has any interest in racing this would be the Christmas present wrapped in one for the Bromheads. It's a big ask though. It's a big ask, I think, for Bob Ollinger to come back hurdling and beat horses.
What did you make of what happened in the Lismullen? I mean, in the end, home by the lead, just Joseph's horses were on fire that afternoon, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, because like I know home by the Lee sits third or fourth in the betting here, but I wouldn't even mention home by the Lee in this kind of category. I don't know why.
I'd be the same. You're all right. Keep going. You're on track.
Yeah. Look, the two at the top have the form around here. There was that big fiasco at the start a couple of years ago, and Danny missed it, and Paul got ahead, and that I think Gavin Cromwell's horses are in better form now than when they ran in the Lismullen as well. And I think that run under his belt is going to do him better. So I think Florin Porter is probably a good bet here. I think it's interesting that Zanahiyr stepped up to 3 mile as well. Big, gross horse. I know he's 5 now. He done a lot as a 4-year-old, and he had to come into open company last year, and he ran some good races, but he had an excuse the last day as well. He had a couple of cuts and he was blowing hard. The vets reports that he was blowing hard after the race as well. So there might have been a little mishap there. So I could see him improving a lot and getting into the placings. But I think Florin Porter is probably going to win this.
But who are you putting in, Tom?
Who
are you putting in for your 5 cast?
I'd say I'd be putting Florin Porter in,
yeah. Mike, on paper, it's obviously between the top two, isn't it? Florin Porter, Classical Dream. 39 runs between the two of them. They've had plenty of racing, 14 wins over herds between the two of them. There's only £2 between them, as Tom mentioned. Obviously, the fiasco at the start, that was the big talking point. Tom's mentioned Zanahiyr. That's my pick for the race. He's only a 5-year-old. 5-year-olds have a very decent record in the race in the last decade. Florin Porter won it as a 5-year-old. Apple Jade won it as a 5-year-old. Sandra Hughes, when she was trained Lieutenant Cannell to win it. Monksland won it as a 5-year-old. So, look, Ronan Groom, if he was on the podcast, he'd probably tell you don't back a 5-year-old in open company the following season. I think Zanahiyr, as Tom said, he did have an excuse the last day. I was disappointed with him. He was many people's idea of, shaping up into a leading stayer this season. On ratings, he's 159 rated hurdler. He doesn't have too much to find moving up in trip. He looked crying out for a step up in trip last season. He's only beaten 4.5 lengths in the champion hurdle by Honeysuckle. That's absolutely rock solid form. If he turns up anything like that here, I think stepping up in trip is really going to suit this horse. I think it's what he's needed. If he turns up decent
the track
form,
is going. I fancy him more around Leopardstown than Cheltenham, to be doing this for the first time.
He's won at Leopardstown as well. 8-1 seems very, very fair. He's my selection for the 5 He's my selection each way at that price. I can see him coming for money. One I would just mention at a big, big price also in the race is Ashdale Bob. I thought he was running a massive race. Now, he was getting plenty of weight off Loring Porter at Navan in the Lismullen. He's come out and he's run pretty quickly in the Hatton's Grace. He literally did run quickly. He ran from this. He obviously made all on that occasion and probably tired late on. I think stepping up to 3 miles here, he only finished a length and a quarter off Classical Dream at Punchestown last season. Classical Dream was probably over the top at that stage. He tends to go better fresh, which is a slight negative for Classical Dream, I think, coming into this. But as I said, Ashdale Bob could run a big race for Jesse at a big price here at 14-1. I'll play the 2 of them each way for the sake of the 5 and putting Zana here in. I think it's a massive price. I think 8-1 is more than fair, Mike.
Well, that is the Jack de Bromhead Christmas Hurdle. That's the 4th of our 5 cast races. And in
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
We've got one more race to look at. But before that, let's hear from one of the most popular men in Irish racing, Boyle Sports ambassador Puppy Power. Now, of course, retired. Seemed very strange to see him on the telly at Naas the other day in a peak cap with a tie on and with binoculars over his shoulder. He's getting used to the old squirearchy life, but a hugely popular fella and in the right place at the right time as well to give Henry de Bromhead the help that obviously in the current situation, I'm sure he's finding invaluable. And of course, you can't find anybody better than Poppy, who's been there, done that. And he's probably got a wardrobe full of T-shirts. And here he is talking to Barry.
Lovely. So delighted to be joined by Robbie Power, of course, Boyle Sports ambassador for the Champ.ie podcast. Looking ahead to Christmas racing, Robbie. Good to see you. You're looking well. How's life after retirement from the saddle?
Yeah, all's good. Thankfully, I'm kept busy working alongside Henry de Bromhead and enjoying it. It's been going really well and looking forward to a good Christmas, hopefully. And this year, I'm going to eat plenty.
Absolutely. I'd say, well, you can do that now since you're after retiring, of course. And so I was looking ahead to the big race over Christmas, Robbie, is the King George. Stephen's Day. Who wins it?
Yeah, good question. It's a cracking renewal of the King George. You have 2 of last season's top novices in Brave Man's Game and Long Press. Brave Man's Game was very good around Kempton last year in the Coyle Star Novices Chase. But this is stepping into the big boys league. Frode Unstable Companion, Envoy Allen, who was proved his stamina in Down Royal when he won the champion chase up there. So look, it's a very, very competitive renewal. I thought Long Press seasonal reappearance with a big weight in the Eider chase in Newcastle was a fantastic run. So it's hard to pinpoint it. I'm going to stay loyal to Envoy Allen. I thought 3 miles brought around huge improvement with him. I think at around 5 or 6 to 1, he's great each way value in the race. I can't see him being out of the first 3. And I think he's got a big chance. I think Kempton will suit him. He's got a very high cruising speed. And as I say, in Down Royal, he proved his stamina.
Absolutely. Plenty to look forward to. Certainly is a cracking race, Robbie. And on home soil, A Plus Tard and Manila Endo. Of course, he did ride Manila Endo in this last year. Both entered in the Savills Chase. I suppose the question on everyone's lips is how's A Plus Tard since Haydock? What exactly came to light?
Yeah, he came back from Haydock and at the time nothing showed up, but then his bloods after showed that he got an allergy, and that would explain the run. You know, it was way too bad to be true. Everyone could see that it wasn't his showing at all. The one thing you can always say about A Plus Tard is he's consistent, and he didn't run his race at all. So draw a line through that and look forward to Leopardstown. He was just beaten in this race last year by Galvin and went on to win the Gold Cup. So hopefully he can bounce back and go one better this year. He seems in good form at home. Everyone's happy with him. Davy Roach rides him out mainly and he's very happy with him. So that's the important thing. And fingers crossed he bounces back to form with a bang.
Is he your pick for the race?
I think so, yeah. I think Galvin, a bit like that, was a little bit disappointed in the north. He's got a little bit to prove. There's a few horses in this race with questions to be answered. So I think if they all bounce back and all run their race, I think Applutard is probably the most likely winner.
How afraid of Statler are you guys?
Yeah, definitely. He was a very nice horse last season, good novice. But it's a big task stepping into a race like this. So he needs to improve to reach the level of sort of Galvin and Applutard, but there's no saying that he won't do that.
Super. Now, Rob Core, obviously, you've rode plenty of horses for Rob Core in the past. They have a lovely team of horses this season. And even heading into Christmas, plenty of entries there. Bob Ollinger, obviously, he's in the Christmas hurdle over 3 miles, stepping up in trip to 3 miles over hurdles for the first time. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, it's I suppose you don't know until you try. I've never ridden Bob Ollinger. I've ridden him work a few times. He gives you the feel that he will stay 3 miles. But as I say, until you try it, you don't know. It's a very, very good renewal of the Christmas hurdle, and you've Classical Dream who won it last year. Florian Porter the year before. It is a cracking renewal of the race. But I'd be hopeful that Bob can, if he sees out 3 mile, he'll be very, very competitive. He seems to have come on well from his run in Navan, so hopefully he can run a big race.
Why do you think we didn't see the real Bob Ollinger last season?
I honestly don't know. Whether he got a fright jumping fences or what, I don't know. His schooling and everything had been very, very good. I actually schooled upsides him after racing in Navan one day last year. Rachel rode him and he was absolutely electric over fences. Now, I know there's no comparison from schooling to a race. It's like a training session and a match. So he just, for whatever reason, I don't know. No one could put their finger on it. Maybe he just lost the love for jumping fences. So that's what we're putting it down to. And his run, he showed great enthusiasm. He travelled very well in Navan the last day. He looked like a winner going to the last, and then just got a little bit tired, which he was entitled to do. So I think he come on an awful lot from Navan.
Looking at the way he travels in his races, was it ever considered going the 2 mile route, going down the champion hurdle route, or is 3 miles, do you think, more of his bag? I
personally think 3 miles is more of his gig. Could be proven wrong now over Christmas, but look, that's the nature of the game we're in. Horses make liars of you, but look, I think this is the race to go for with him, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll prove me right. Obviously,
loads of handicap action over Christmas. Anything in a handicap that sticks out over Christmas for you?
Yeah, I think a few there. Actually, the plan has been changed as I see their declarations this morning. I thought Jungle Pros was a mare that's been on the improve. It's an unbelievable the amount she's improving since Gordon Elliott has taken her over. And I thought she'd go for the Thames qualifier, but she doesn't. She actually goes to Limerick for a grade 2. So that just shows you how much she's improved. She's one to keep an eye on. The Welsh Grand National in Chepstow on the 27th. A horse that I've won a few times on and was very unlucky not to win a grade 1 on, the Big Breakaway. This horse has to win a big race someday. He's got so much talent. Things didn't work out well for him in his novice chase season, and he was just beaten in Haydock on his first start this season. The Tizzards have a fantastic record in the Welsh Grand National, and they would have been eyeing this race for him. I think the Big Breakaway there definitely has a big chance. And in the Paddy Power Handicap Chase in Leopardstown on the 27th, Oliver McKiernan's runner Gallant John Joe will be very, very interesting for me. I think he has to have a big chance in what's a very, very competitive handicap. So them two for me, the Big Breakaway and Gallant John Joe in the 2 big handicaps on the 27th, to me would represent a good each way value double.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the Big Breakaway and Jungle Pros. I know Shane and the lads, Jungle Pros, best of luck with her. And sure, she could potentially go down possibly the Albert Bartlett route if she was to win over Christmas. I mean, she is still a novice, isn't she?
Yeah, she's still a novice, and she could go to the Albert Bartlett. If she wins a grade 2 in Limerick, you would imagine that's definitely where she'd be going, would be the Albert Bartlett. So, yeah, it's just astonishing the amount she's improved in such a short space of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you've had good success with connections as well, riding Jury Duty before. And the Big Breakaway, yeah, and certainly a very interesting horse. So, yeah. Napa Christmas, Robbie, what is it?
Nap at Christmas. I'm going to go for a treble on the 27th. Short price treble. Dysart Dynamo, who I'm really looking forward to seeing over fences. He was a really strong front-running hurdler. Was well fancied for the Supreme Novices last year, and things didn't work out. It's a Willie Mullins treble. I think that day is going to be very big. Facile Vega, Shakin Poursois, and Dysart Dynamo. All three will be very short. We'll put the three together, and you might get a bit of value.
Big handicap chase on the Wednesday at Leopardstown. Huge field as always. The first thing to try and work out is what do the McManus team actually fancy here, because they got umpteen in the race as usual. Mark Walsh on Donkey's Ears for Eric McNamara, Paul Tannen on Ciel de Liège for Willie Mullins, and going further down the list, of course, they got Alpha Mix. Gavin Cromwell is a reserve who wouldn't without a chance in my book were he to get in the race. Enjoy Delen for Kieran Murphy and Keith Donahue. And as well as that, A Wave of the Sea for Shane Fitzgerald and Joseph O'Brien. And Early Doors is one of theirs as well, another Joseph O'Brien horse. So learn your caps, Mr. Hannon. It's going to be one of those. Where on earth do you start in a race like this? Ciel de Liège surely not off top weight. Or does Willie Mullins really walk on water? Barry?
I'm glad you came to me first, because I have a feeling Tom Coyle is a big Martin Brazel fan, and I'd say Panda Boy was on the radar for him, and I'm going to get in before him because I think Panda Boy is a right chance here. Probably the only negative against him is he's only had 3 runs over fences. Makes his handicap debut over fences here. He's just a pound higher over fences than he was over hurdles. He won at Christmas at Leopardstown last season. There's been good support from in the AntePost markets. Wouldn't be surprised if he drifted out again and then was backed in late before the off. Big pot, Martin Brazel. This horse, he ticks a lot of boxes for me. He's only a 6-year-old. Interesting, just he did win a beginner's chase at Punchestown on decent ground. And that was on the 29th of May. He was put away. He's had 2 runs over fences since. Last seen, I thought he ran respectable at Punchestown in the Florida Pearl Grade 2 over a trip probably short enough for him at 2.5 miles on that occasion. So for me, I think he ticks an awful lot of boxes here. You can plow down through it. There's lots of them you could make a case for, obviously. Panda Boy, I think he could be laid out for this. And look, at his current price, 11-2 with Boyle Sports, I would be very interested in that. Just to mention as well, he's only had 3 runs over fences. I love his way of racing. This horse, he relaxes very well in his races. He's a very sound jumper. If the ground got, I don't know what way the weather forecast is, I suppose by the 27th. But I suppose he would want a little bit better ground. One other to mention before Tom comes in, because probably is a second selection. It's the first reserve. Second reserve. If it did get in, the dog is barking. That must be a sign. Alpha Mix. I'd be interested in him. He went off 13-2 after this race last year. If a couple did come out, Mark Walsh rode him in the race last season. He'll get in obviously off bottom weight if he does get in. I thought he shaped with a little bit more promise on his last 3 runs with blinkers on than he did last season. He'll handle nicer type of ground. And I think Alpha Mix, if he did get in, could run a big race also. But Panda Boy for me, Mike.
I was just thinking, hearing the dog and reminding me that he's a bit too late. We had the big dog on earlier, mate. Back in your kennels. Away you go. Go on. TC.
But the big dog's form can come back into this though, Mike, as well. And the dogs are barking like.
Oh, nice link.
Yeah,
you should be doing this for a living.
Rachel's mount, Ain't That a Shame, just went down ahead in the Munster National in Limerick. That was a good run. Has gone up a few pounds, but still has the hustle and bustle. I do like Panda Boy, but it's an awful big ask in a race like this, Barry. That's my, and 11-2, 5-1 is that's not really stop. There's no goodness in that in a race like this. Hustle and bustle. I know you're saying he relaxes and everything, but this is cavalry charge. They line up down the towards the back straight and up over them 5 fences, helter skelter before they turn in the first time and it settles down a bit. I don't know. I think it's just a bit too much for a handicap David. If I'm going with Ain't That a Shame, on that form, Donkey Years has to have a chance because he's about £6 better off for 9 lengths in the Munster National. So he definitely has to have a chance. It's funny that Mark Walsh goes for him as well. So that's always a plus. I couldn't have Alpha Mix. I think for 2 years I was following this horse, and he still hasn't won. So for me, not a chance in a race like this.
He's after dropping
down,
he's after dropping £8 in the handicap since going off turn.
I don't care. He doesn't jump good enough for me. Not a chance. Another one of this horse is really interesting actually. We all know he was bought for big money. Kieran Murphy's Enjoyed Allen. He was bought for big money for going for English National last year. He was third in this last year off £2 higher. He was beaten 3 lengths which was a good run. Conor Orr rode him. Keith Donoghue, in my opinion, now is probably in the top 3 or 4 jockeys in the country. Rides, which is definitely a plus. And plus, Kieran Murphy's horses have been in cracking form. Let it be Dundalk on the all-weather or that. But the man has been putting in winners every week. So the yard is in form. The horse with his price tag that goes, there has to be a big pot in him somewhere. He went to Frank Berry himself and said, I think you should buy this horse. So there has to be a big pot in him somewhere. At 20-1, he's a great each way bet. Look, we know he handles the course. He's been third now. I know he's been disappointing over hurdles, but he's rated 116 over hurdles for a reason. He's obviously a much better chaser. He definitely has an each way chance. And one at a big price that I went for that has a good each way chance is the mare Ballyshannon Rose. She has some good form in mare's hurdles. She was second to Doyle in Clonmel the last day, and she was second behind French Dynamite before that. Young lad in the yard obviously claims 7 off in Keen Cullinan. He's ridden a few winners, not too bad. We know Peter Fahey's able to get ready for these big handicaps, as in the big dog and horses like that. So I think at 33-1, she's a good each way chance. She's battle hardened. It's a good race though. You need your wits about you in that. So
you need a bit of luck as well, because
well, definitely.
I've actually backed the winner of this race twice in the last 5 years.
They're going well.
Sadly, on neither occasion did the horse have a jockey on when it crossed the line. It's one of those.
Yeah. So
okay, it's time to wrap this up because we've got a lot more we could talk about. Wish the two lads tidings of comfort and joy, and we're all back next year, which means we haven't won enough this year to retire.
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Right. It is time for you guys to get involved. If you haven't subscribed, please do so immediately. And also, please enter the competition. There's a really nice prize up for grabs. And what you have to do is get your 5 in and see how you go. You must have 2 winners or more to qualify. And speaking of 2 winners, I don't know whether we've got 2 winners between the lot of us, but we'll try. Let's go around the panel. King George, Barry.
King George, a high senior, 20-1. I think that's a mad price.
Mr. Coyle.
Yeah, I agree with him. It's a mad price, all right, but I'll put in Envoy Allen.
And I'm a brave man's game. Well, it's a brave man's, and I say you two on. On we go then with the Welsh National. Tommy Coyle.
Pat's Fancy for me.
Barry.
Ask me early, Mike. Harry Fry.
And I'm the big breakaway. I'll take first on the Savills at Leopardstown. I'm going to chance Fury Road. Barry.
Statler.
Tommy.
Conflated.
Good to see we're in agreement. And then the Jack de Bromhead race. Barry.
Zanahir, 8-1, big price.
Tommy.
I'll stick with Florin Porter.
And I will go for the one that will bring the house down. And it certainly will be one of the most emotional days you'll ever be racing if it happens. I'll go Bob Ollinger. And everybody who isn't involved in the others, I'm sure, will be rooting for the de Bromhead family. Marvellous people who've had the year from hell, not to put a finer point on it. And we finish with this Wednesday handicap, huge field. And you can't have JP McManus selected, Barry, here. So what will you have?
I'll go with the current favourite, Panda Boy.
And you're up on burglary charges tomorrow morning by the sound of it, because I thought those words were going to come out of Tommy's lips. Where are you going, Tommy? You're going to agree with him? You are allowed to.
No, definitely not. I'll go with Ain't That a Shame, but I definitely want to give an each way shout to Enjoy Dallin.
And I've got two each ways here. I thought Faster Delage impressed me last time, and that was at Punchestown. But if you could forgive Captain Kangaroo coming to grief in the Beecher, I think he's right in it on the basis of his Cork Grand National winning form, and they're both at each way prices.
Yeah, Mike.
There are your 5 casts. Do you want the last word as usual? I suppose you do. Go on then.
I could just hear Jerry Hannon as the turn for home. Panda Boy. On you go.
No, I'm not doing that. I can also suggest that isn't this where Jerry Hannon hit the jackpot with that Jigginstown horse that arrived on the line a few years ago? I hope he's down from the stratosphere by now. Okay, anything else anybody wants to mention very briefly?
I have 2 picked out, just in 2 handicaps. I think it's Tuesday, not Stevens' Day, Tuesday, Limerick. Lady Riders Handicap Hurdle. Anya O'Connor rides for Porrick Roach. A horse called As Luck Would Have It. Finished 5th the last day in Thurles. Came from a long way back, too far back. Just finished behind a horse called West is Awake, which was 3rd a bumper, and won a handicap for Eddie Cawley, which is a decent enough yardstick, I think, with a more positive ride. Has one of the better lady amateurs aboard. That won't be far away. And one of interest in Down Royal on Stevens' Day is a horse called Cave Court. Finished 5th in a maiden hurdle in Punchestown first time out. Finished behind a horse of mine, Morning Logic. Wasn't beaten far. 2 middle of the road runs since. Is probably well handicapped off 97. Wouldn't be the hottest of handicaps for Down Royal on Stevens' Day. So any money for Noel Kelly. He the second Yessie in air, so the horses run well. He could be of interest. A horse called Cave Court.
Barry?
Yeah, we'll start with the first race at Leopardstown.
That's you're nicking my lines there. What a race that's going to be.
Yeah, maiden hurdle for 4-year-olds. Parmenion. I'd make him my best bet of the day. Willie Mullins came from France, 1 mile and 2 furlongs winner. And has been given plenty of time. Same race as Stateman won last season. He's up 2-1. I could see this horse going off a lot shorter. That's Parmenion.
He is taking on high definition, and that's why there's going to be an awful lot of interest in the race.
The other one, Mike, I want to mention, it's also in a hurdle race early enough in the day on Stevens' Day, 11:45. It's a horse trained by Nicky Richards, and it's a horse called Gigiville. It's currently 11-4 with Boyle Sports, and it finished 2nd to Fortescue over 2 miles when last seen at Ayr. I think this horse could be a good horse moving up in trip. Gigiville for Nicky Richards. A couple of others to
and
mention.
Where is that running, Barry?
That is running at Newcastle on Stevens' Day on the in the 11:45. It's another maiden hurdle. One to mention for Ollie Murphy in the 105 at Market Raisin. One last time in a handicap, drops back in trip. The horse is called Secret Trick. Sean Bowen on board for Ollie Murphy in Market Raisin in a handicap hurdle over 1 mile and 4 furlongs. 8-1 Secret Tricks. And one to mention on the 28th, obviously we're speaking before declarations. Jessica Harrington, JP McManus has had a couple of runs. Changing the rules. First time up in a handicap. JP for Jessica Harrington. So that's a couple of my best bets. And in terms of the ones we've mentioned already, I have backed a High Seigneur at a big price, 20-1. Myself, Statler, in terms of the races we've mentioned, I think he's a super bet in the Savills Chase. So that's my lot for Christmas. Happy Christmas to the listeners, and thanks a million for listening. Subscribe if you haven't already, as Mike mentioned.
It doesn't cost you anything. It's give all your friends a little, just write down a piece of paper. This is the website you need to subscribe to. And you know what? It won't cost you a penny. It won't mean half a pint less of Guinness or anything, and tell your guests and friends that they should listen to the wise words. This week, in the absence of wise words, you've had Tommy Coyle and Barry Doyle. Wish you all a very happy Christmas. 2023 starts for us next week with Ferry House. But for now, tidings of comfort and joy to you all.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special beer, and it's a Hattons full of grace. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Download the Boyle Sports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boyle Sports, this is betting.